have going on in your own life and your emotions. This means you are so self-aware, that you are self-aware considering the situation that is trying to trigger you. So this means that you know your triggers. You have taken time to examine yourself, to study people, and replace those old unhealthy habits with new good habits. You've taken time, you've done your homework. You are, you're in therapy, or either you're meeting with some type of spiritual counsel. You're learning to be a better person. You're not perfect, but you're at a place of peace because you don't need validation from everybody. Because situations may come as a trigger, but you're stopping it while it's a threat. You see, you're handling that ahead of time while it's trying to become a threat. Let me correct that. While it's trying to become a threat. It is not yet a threat to you, but it's trying to become a threat. So what you've done is you have went out there and you've got the education you needed. You got the resources you needed. You have learned how to love yourself. So if that man don't want you, or that job don't want you, you're not going to go take it out on yourself by doing something dangerous and creating unhealthy habits, or laying around in the house, depressed and stuff. You've learned how to be resilient towards situations in life that are coming at you. And that's a good place to be, y'all. It's good to, be able to get back up, because the Bible reminds us to get back up. You fall down, get back up 7 more times. Come on. Don't even worry about the fall. When you are in Christ, there is so much coverage over your life. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. So that's what cold yellow is. It's putting your complete and total trust in the Lord, knowing that if you fall down, or if someone comes along with something trying to trigger you, you're fine with that. You're not going to let it get to your heart. You're not going to let the praises of men go to your head and the bitterness of men go to your heart. Okay? And another thing is, instead of being quick to anger, you're going to use those spiritual principles to help you get out of situations. Instead of being quick to anger, you are now being slow to anger. Instead of smoking cigarettes when you feel bad, now you're out here exercising. You're doing different types of yoga and stuff to help yourself become stronger and more healthier, versus filling your body up with something that's going to make you sicker. Instead of being a compulsive spender and going out spending money every time you get upset, now you have set limits and alerts on your credit card to let you know when you have reached your budget. See, you know how to avoid those danger zones. You know how to address the danger zones, but you know also how to avoid. So when you're in the yellow, you're in a good place. You know how to get out of the way of that person that's going to trigger you. And and I'm not talking about you using avoidance as a tactic, but at some point it is kind of like, how to avoid trouble. The drama whenever you see it, and you're just not going to have that. That's just not who you are anymore. You have emotionally matured in the yellow. You are prepared for the triggers. You know what patterns to look for in your life that are normal versus your abnormalities. You know how to position yourself privately and publicly. And that's a good thing when you can stand in private and have integrity for God and for yourself in private. Look, you're by yourself. You got a chance. You can drink beer all you want. Nobody will never know. But because of the love you have for God and yourself, and the belief that and values that you have in Him, you do the right thing privately as well as publicly. Not too many people can say that. Knowing how to position yourself alone or without people when you're around the threat of a possible trigger, your awareness sets in. Your self-awareness sets in. Knowing your peer pressures. Now, that's what I like about the yellow. You know your peer pressures, people in church, the peer pressure that people put on, better yet, let me say it like this. Y'all know the fast talkers that we have in our communities when they're trying to sell us something real quick. You know how to slow that person down to your level, to your speed, and handle it before you get too far out there, or before it even becomes a threat to you. You cut it off at the beginning. When you're around the threat of a possible trigger, you know how to apply the right pressure to yourself and also to them. You're learning to trust yourself. And see, I said you're not perfect, but you're in a good place in life where you know that God is working it out for your good. You're learning to trust yourself more so you don't go in places that you know are a trigger for you. I'm going to give you an example. An example is of someone trying to lose weight, and all of a sudden you see them keep going to buffet restaurants. And that ain't nothing but temptations. Now, they know eventually they're going to eat all that stuff. Eventually, they're going to pile on those plates, pile that food on them plates. For someone trying to get healthy, you don't have no business, going into places that can be a temptation to you before you are strong enough to handle that temptation. I give you an example also of myself being in the yellow. I had an issue with healthy snacks this week. I had to use my gift card before it expired. And on this gift card, I could only buy healthy foods. And so I ended up having to buy like a lot of healthy snacks. I mean, like a real lot. And I knew it was a lot, and I knew that was temptation to me. So before I even allowed it to get to that point, to trigger me where I would just eat the snacks. And just because it says healthy does not mean that it cannot become unhealthy if you are over snacking with it. So I was very self-aware about what I needed to do, which was be able to get rid of some of those snacks. I did not need them all. So I gave some away and kept only what I could handle. So that's an example of being in the yellow. Okay, and it does take time and it takes training to get to that place of being in the yellow. It's not something that you're going to get to overnight. It's something that you really got to work at every day, which means you got to be conscious of your emotions. And I'm not telling you like to freak out about it or anything, or like walking around talking about, well, I'm happy today, I'm sad today. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to live your life. But, when there's a situation that kind of triggers you, or either or you start feeling those feelings, you feel those butterflies in your stomach right before you begin to respond to something. At the moment you feel those butterflies, that's the moment you need to start assessing your threats right then and there. You need to start looking around, scanning, and seeing what's going on in your life that is causing this. Who has walked up in your life and is causing you to have this type of feeling? You need to handle those emotions. Do not let your emotions handle you. You have to have faith over feelings. And that's just real. You got to have faith over feelings, or you're going to always be running to some unhealthy habit in order to cope with everyday life struggles. And I will tell you that everybody has life struggles. They may not always be the same, but we all have these life struggles. Okay, the next color is orange. Now, orange is a color, red is fire. We know that's hot. But orange is kind of like, it's kind of like burning. Like you got that burning sensation. This is your intentional triggers. Intentionals. These are not random triggers. These are intentional triggers. These are the generational and environmental threats that are in your life. These are the people that know how to get under your skin, the ones who have betrayed you before. These are your ex-friends. These are your ex-boyfriends. These are family members. These are old classmates. These are people that were familiar with your environment and familiar with you. These are associates. These are business people that know you. These are people that know the real you. And you heard that saying on Facebook. They say, I know the real them. I don't know why they're trying to front on Facebook. I know who they really are. Well, these are those type of people, okay? The intentional triggers, intentional ones. These are the people that know the real you and are a threat to your peace. They are the ones that get a joy out of seeing you miserable. They're the ones that's not going to clap for you whenever you do something good or you want to celebrate. They're going to always find an excuse not to celebrate with you, or they're going to find a way to talk over you and put their celebration ahead of yours. These are people that know exactly what they are doing. They are the ones that constantly remind you, I know who you really are. I know what your house really look like on the inside. I know what's under that skin. I know you got bills that you ain't paid. In 2021, these may be the ones that you may have sent inappropriate pictures to. I mean, just being real. It's some women that's listening to this podcast that you ain't been saved all your life. And even sometimes then we all fall short. Some of you send inappropriate pictures to people. It could have been a scar on your butt. It could have been, a picture of your bedroom. You might have sent a picture of your bedroom saying, well, I want to clean this up. And you may have certain things in your bedroom that these people know about. These are the people who will keep throwing the hints that can trigger you to try and predict what they are thinking. It's serious enough that it can be a temptation to go back to the old ways that you just came out of. It can tempt you to go back to unhealthy habits such as lying, stealing, having funnification parties, procrastinating, falling into temptations of being taken advantage of. At this point, you need to de-escalate your emotions because they didn't got you in your feelings. These are the people that push you to get in your feelings. They're not going to let you leave unless you do get in your feelings. So at this point, you need to de-escalate, step outside of your flesh and die to it, knowing how far God has brought you, because you're almost to the point where, you're getting to the point where you're about to lose your saviorhood. You're about to say, forget the church. This is that point right there. When you're in that orange, when you say, forget the church. Now I ain't letting nobody talk to me like that. This is the point where you are, just about to cuss somebody out. You're not doing it yet, but you're not far from it. This is the part where your temperature is boiling. Your anger is rising and you are losing control of the situation. You are losing control of yourself. You are now making your blood pressure go up. Y'all feel that as I'm saying it? You're making your blood pressure go up and everything because of what these people have said to you, how they have reminded you how you are nobody, how you will never be nobody. Every time they see you, they want to remind you of how much crack you smoke. They want to remind you of all the men you used to mess with. They want to remind you of how you had a 5-finger discount finger, how you used to steal all the time. They want to remind you of how you were such a cheater and you cheated on your husband and that's why he ain't with you today. They want to remind you of those things. They want to remind you of your broken childhood. They want to take your control and power. So they keep pushing you and pushing you. They keep pushing you and pushing you until you get to the point of you're right at the edge of being triggered, but you get to the point where you're starting to feel it. You're feeling the symptoms of your anger. You're feeling the symptoms of your behavior is switching now. You're no longer sounding godly. Now you're sounding just like the people in the world. You're sounding like who you used to be. I mean, you're getting rowdy. You bowdy. You're getting bowdy now. Y'all, give me just a second. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to stop this phone call from coming in. So y'all give me just a second, okay? Sorry about that. So sorry. But now you're getting to the point where you're bowdy. Like you're about to nuck if you buck. You know all that stuff. You have gotten to the point where you are saying, I got to go get me a gun. You're to the point where you're saying, I got to carry my knife with me. You're to the point where you done lost trust in God. You done lost your faith in God. And you're now walking out of the light. You're not completely out of the light, but you're walking out of the light. You're walking toward the darkness. And this is where your emotions is now taking control. This is where now the temptation is wearing you out. This is where the temptation to be evil is stepping in. This is where you're remembering the old you. And you're trying to get to that. You're fighting back and forth with yourself. You're in spiritual warfare. You're in spiritual warfare. You're fighting with the old versus the new you. And it appears that old lifestyle is winning because that's all you know. At some